It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show.
Season's greetings. God bless you to each of you. Welcome to the JaeTae Show. Hey, welcome to the JaeTae Show.
We off to a great start.
Yes, we are. Okay, I can't do too much laughing. Oh my God. Oh gosh.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, hey y'all, welcome to the JaeTae Show. Y'all know how it is over here.
That's right.
Uncut. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Thank you all so much for joining us. We apologize for missing you all on Sunday, but it was another busy day. And just thanking God that we were able to spend time with family and friends on that day on Christmas and even on Christmas Eve. And so just thanking God for another opportunity to gather. And today I wanted to start out, of course, we're going to talk more on brushing. Hey, Bishop. All right. Welcome, Bishop. Okay, if I can get you in the room, the taste. Okay. All right. There we go. Now, there he is. Yeah. He takes your place. He really does. Lord have mercy. But anyway, I just thank God that we have this opportunity because some things I want to share from our midweek service. Those of you who know, I play for two churches. Well, I play organ at one church, and the church I play the organ is the one the church that I play the organ at is the one I want to mention. But then, of course, you also know that I serve as a minister of music and a member of New Vision Church. But I wanted to speak on some things that I took note of at West Point tonight, being Wednesday of this week. And first and foremost, Merry Christmas, belated Christmas to you all. Thank God so much. We do apologize. We were not able to say these wishes before now and have the show aired on Christmas or before. But like I said, we were out and experiencing other things. And so thank God for being able to make up the time now. And one of the things that was said tonight that really got, what did I do? What did I say?
You just repeated yourself. It just gives me just.
Oh God. Oh Lord. Okay. It gets my attention that, or it got my attention about driving on these highways. And I think this weekend I did more driving than I've done in quite some time. And as I'm getting older, I don't care to drive as much. And then, of course, with my driving history, I'm always grateful when I can leave a place and arrive safely. And so one of the sisters was just saying that, you know, as she's getting older, she doesn't like to drive as much. And it made me remember as much driving as I did this week that there were no incidents, there were no accidents, no tickets, praise God. And it was like in some moments, it was like God was clearing the way for me just to see that he was with me, because I'd come up on cars that had been pulled over, and of course, knowing if I would have been in front of them, that it could have and would have been me. And so just thinking on that really brought me into a place of praise and thanksgiving. And as I talked about prayer prompt the other week, while sharing the word of God, I've also began to acknowledge thanks prompts and praise prompts, things that will cause us or prompt us to say thank you or to give God praise. And so I honor him for his goodness. I honor him for his grace and his mercy that has sustained us. That's why I wanted to start out with a word of thanks and praise. And then the pastor Tillman got up and shared something that really hit home as well. At the introduction of his word for this week was talking about Mary's availability and her consent to God's will. And he started out, he was talking, you know, encouraging us that it's about our availability. It's not necessarily about our ability, but it's our availability. And that kind of brought me into tonight's topic with crushing, because I was able to thank God, looking back over the years, that I know I have been available. When I wanted to give up and be done with life, God let me know that my life belonged to him. And so it is whatever he wants me to go through. And I've had some low moments since then, but I honor God. I kind of think it would have been nice to have this book in years past, but it would not mean then what it means now. And considering the crushings that we've gone through, I truly honor God for his goodness, and to understand some things that we're going to talk about tonight that I'll be able to expound a little bit more on, because I don't want to get ahead of myself. But JaeTae, when you heard these things that I've experienced in tonight's Bible study, what does that bring to your mind?
Well, first I was going to tell you, I can drive for you. I don't mind being your driver.
We definitely don't need to go back to what you were saying about driving. Okay, go ahead.
You need to unmute.
I'm unmuted.
Oh, yeah?
Mhm.
Okay, what I was saying was I can drive for you. I have driven for you many a times, and it's not the J-Bass driving that you would like for it to be, but we've got that safe and sound. And you can look like that, but I was going to tell you about, I was thinking about the other day when I was driving in the fast lane. And Tanya actually brought it back up. I was saying something to her on Facebook, and she immediately went to it because I didn't respond to the post on Facebook, right? So she was bringing it up.
Thank you, Tanya.
No, thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya.
But how many times when you said the Thanksgiving prompts, do we just not, when we take for granted little things and don't take that time to tell God thank you? When we get up in the morning, we tell him thank you. When we go to bed at night, we tell him thank you. And I'm sure throughout the day too, but there are times where the situation really could be really, really different, and we just kind of just say, whoa, instead of really giving God the praise in that moment. So that's something else we're gonna have, that I'm gonna adapt, that will take from you too, because that prayer prompt, I tell you, I had to use it many times the last week of school. So I'm sure I'll be telling God thank you too, using those thank you prompts. So thank you for that. And anybody else that's watching, y'all need to take it too.
Use these prompts.
God wants us to, excuse me, he's giving it to Jay, to give to us, because clearly we need to do it more. So that's all I have.
And I need, even before putting a name on it, I found myself doing it. And even, things for thanks and praise, and even prayer. But, you just didn't have the language to call it a prompt. And that's exactly what it is, a moment that you realize that. But I'm trying to figure out why Tanya was brought up, and what did she say that needed to be brought into the show pertaining to your driving and driving in the book.
When you were talking about how you have driven so much and you just don't care for them more, I was telling you, I'm here for you. I'm here for, no matter what Tanya say, because she said I could never drive for you again. She's taking it all away and all of that. She don't tell me what to do. Okay, I can drive the J-Bass in the right way.
Oh, okay. Well, we both know the answer to that, and so praise God and thank God.
I don't know.
Thank God so much for your offering. However, because and the truth is, I get to where I need to go safely and on time, and before time.
And those thank you prompts.
Thank God so much for his goodness. Thank God, because really it could be the other way. Watching the crashes and things that they post on Facebook, and just seeing some of the things, I'm like, oh, But anyway, all right. Talking about question tonight, because there are really some things that I saw in this chapter that speaks to some of the things that have been mentioned tonight. And even as we prepare to start this discussion, of course, this book is by Bishop T.D. Jakes, and we're recording this after scandalous things have been said and posted about him. And to be honest, because of the impact that this man's ministry has had on my life, I'm pretty much the one who turned JaeTae on to listening to Bishop on a weekly basis. And now we've learned to listen to whoever he allows to preach in the Potter's House pulpit. And I still hold on to a lot of the words that have come out of this man's mouth, even to the point of hearing his testimony and seeing where God has brought him, to him being one of my top 3 in my life. And, I really do not take lightly the people that God have allowed to be influential figures in our lives. And so to hear the things that people have said, it really was sickening, just because what will happen is, and I've heard him talk about this in sermons, people will throw every good thing that you've done, the blessings that you have been used to bestow unto so many other people, they will take that and throw it in the trash for some mess and some BS. And it really is sickening, because the first matter is all of us have sinned. And so the first person who says we need to blast him or God is exposing. What if somebody said that about you? And what I said, JaeTae, is that those who say that, we would ask the question, how would you feel if somebody put you on blast? But the truth is, most of us are only community known. We might be statewide, we might be nationally known, but this is an international figure who has blessed millions. I would go as far as to say millions of lives have been impacted by this man's ministry. We see the Mega Fest and all of those things that he's hosted, and the droves of people who come to hear him preach. And so there is something that God is doing in his life that has been impactful in the lives of many. And so you mean to tell me that you would willingly open your mouth to trash somebody behind hearsay, behind allegations that have not even been, there's no receipts, there's no proof of this, but you want to blast and put people put a man of God of this respect on blast? Who are you? I really just don't get that. I really don't. And what I saw in that, the level of crushing, because obviously he's doing something right, and that is included in this particular chapter. What did you think about this whole debacle?
I thought it was absolutely disgusting. Those are people that know me know that I'm really addicted to TikTok right now, and I had saw so many things where I just got off of TikTok. I mean, I got so sick and tired of seeing Bishop's face on all type of different cartoon characters and people, and I mean, it was just disgusting. And I'm thinking, why? What's the point? Because what you doing right now? No sin is greater than the other, right? Whether it's true or not true, what you're doing is absolutely disgusting. And the people that fed into it and shared it and all that, you're just as guilty. Yeah. It is disgusting. But I thought about too, I told you, Jay, I didn't listen to all that Bishop said about it. But one thing I heard Bishop say, and that's all I needed to hear, I guess, I didn't hear nothing else. He said, I'm fine. He said, I'm fine. And when he said that, I was like, well, Bishop is fine. You know,
I'm going to tell you what really got me that he said. He said if he had a guest preacher, they would have been canceled because he was going to be in the pulpit Sunday. I said, now that's the bishop I know. That's the bishop I know. Yeah. If he had not preached Sunday, now then I would have thought something different about him. Just not even that the rumors were true, but that he did not take the charge and authority that I know that, and you know, we don't necessarily know him, never sat in his presence or had a real conversation with him, but just from what I have seen from him and the stance that he takes against foolishness, I couldn't see him not being in that pulpit to share such a powerful word. Just a little bit that I was able to hear, and I listened in coming from my first service to the second service, and then I started back listening because, you know, of course, I'm listening to it live during that time, but then I listened to some more tonight coming to and from church. And so just hearing the word that he stood flat-footed and still gave another life-changing word that put our focus on God. And that's how you do it.
The enemy in the face, and you don't
do not back down. Yes.
But you know, it makes me think, we talked the same thing about Harry and Meghan.
Exactly what I thought of.
Bishop was weakened in his spirit, maybe something that happening personally in his life that we don't know about, and things like this have got out. How could that have really crushed him? You know, suicidal pastors commit suicide, and you know, not only do things like that affect you mentally, but it affects you physically. You know, the bishop could have got sick in his body and nobody would know what. It was stress, unnecessary stress. But because he know who he is and whose he is, he could stand up in the pulpit. You know, I heard people say that, oh, the pastor's house gonna be super packed.
Mhm.
You know, just because they want to go and hear what Bishop has to
And
say.
I was thinking, good, because they're gonna get
They're
there and they're gonna get a word.
God's gonna give it to them. All you gotta
Mhm.
do is get there, and
Mhm.
God will do the work.
Mhm. You know,
So-
I was thinking about too that, you know, you're doing this to someone, and of course those who did. I've wondered if these are just trolls who have trolling accounts set up just to do what they could not do in person and in someone's face, just so that maybe that will receive cause them to receive some kind of money, they're getting paid for this or something, because sure, I just, you know, and I maybe I give humanity too much credit, especially seeing and actually having heard things come out of people's mouth that just disgusted me. But I just sometimes I wonder, with all of the inundation of information that is available to us, word after word of encouragement and how to treat one another, that people can still do that, especially to someone who is a husband, who is a father and grandfather, and you know this about him, you know, and of course I wouldn't expect from someone who isn't saved to be concerned about the souls that are at stake. Because what if there was an unbeliever who was contemplating, who saw something that this man spoke and believed it and was convicted and wanted to know God even more, who heard these things and saw these things, who turned back saying that this could be true, and especially considering all of the things that they've heard in churches and about pastors and all of this. And so it just, I just think that, and it's the quote unquote saints that get me and got me with this whole situation, because it's not even those that are unsaved, but the things that saints were saying, how God will reveal and all of this kind of stuff. Again, what if he reveals this about you? And most people don't think about that. And you only impact your little community, but this man has such a powerful platform that I know my life has been impacted. And so, again, I just look at this as another crushing that he's had to endure, that hopefully he'll take his own words that God used him. That's the blessing of having product in hand. You know, as much discouragement as I've had about my music, having the ability to go to YouTube or to Spotify or even to these boxes in the corner and pull out one of the volumes and see the work of my hands and read the book and the work that we have put in place. Go back and listen to the videos that we have recorded and filmed. It's a reminder of the things that God has used us to say and to do, and that if we can accomplish that, there's so much more. And so let's get into the book, because it really keeps bringing me to a certain thing that I read. Now, JaeTae went back and said that I said we stopped at page 68, but I don't remember that because I had a couple of pages that were not highlighted, and after I went back through, they are highlighted now. And so we're going to start back at page 63 for those of you who are following along. I don't know if anybody is even following along with these broadcasts, but what I do understand, you do. Well, I know we are being blessed as it's one thing when you read it, but then that's one of the reasons why I want to do a book club, is because then once you're able to go back and confer with others about what you've read and hear what caught their attention from what you're reading, it really does make a difference. And so on page 63, one thing that stood out to me is why would God send his only son to die on the cross for our sins if he planned to continue to punish us? What a question. What a question. That I really feel like we did get to that, but that just being able to say that again is something to really consider. He goes on to say that God allows such pruning just as a loving father, so that the child will mature and reach her full potential. Even reading that, there's some more that brings the Bishop situation to mind, and even just personal situations, but seeing that he has achieved such heights of success that it would seem like he does not need any more pruning. You know, the things that we've read in chapters 1, 2, and 3 that he's survived and experienced.
And things he had probably had never even talked about in the book.
it would seem like he has been through enough pruning, but yet here we go, another instance where the bishop has had to undergo pruning.
You know, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was looking at this. This was written in 2019.
Wow.
So it was
Even
released in 2019.
Even pre-COVID. Wow. Isn't that
Pre-COVID.
Wow.
So the bishop was crushed then and years before then, because he's talking about situations from years ago. And here it is, 2023, at the very end of 2023. And I bet you Bishop picked up this book with all the foolishness that has went on and how God is going to turn pressure into power.
Okay. All right. Okay. As you know what, I just thank God because I feel like that God is preparing us for what lies ahead. And it's not the lies. I really could care less about the lies, but it's the truth of the matters for me. That I know when you have to come face to face with those truths and realities, that it does make a difference. Yeah. And the thing about it is, my concern is you don't have to lie on me, because the truth is bad enough in its own self, you know. And so one of the things that he says about his mom is that she was teaching him to honor his promises in order to reap the fulfillment of his promises rewards. Because she taught him to clean up and do his chores before he was supposed to go to the school dance, and he didn't get to go because he hadn't done his chore.
Won't this sound like even happening now, Mother?
It sure happens. It still happens. But even to us adults, that God has to do that to us, and some things that we want to do that we're not allowed to do.
The next chapter is pruned for greater growth.
The next section. This is not the next chapter.
Help, Lord.
Help, Lord. It's okay.
Do you have anything in the first one?
Yeah. View your wounds from a new perspective. Our relationships are our greatest resource, but that view your wounds from a new perspective, that is, to me, the entire and overall, even though we're continuing to read this book, this is the same thing that is to be taken away from the overall of this book, is a new perspective, a new outlook at the situations that we find ourselves in this life. Anything for you?
I'm reading down towards the middle. Well, Bishop says, the powerful moments in our lives, however, happen when God takes us through an instructional developmental season of suffering. And as a result, I'm drawn to the loss and hurting. It goes right back to everything. It really baffles me how we're literally at this chapter right now in Bishop's part, in this part of life. Does that make sense? Because it speaks to literally what's happening right now in the world.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. I had highlighted the instructional and developmental seasons of suffering as well. That we don't see suffering as instructional or developmental. All we can see is the pain that we're feeling from going through it. But it says, my gift of exhortation sprouted in a dark place, and it was cut and trimmed by the master's scalpel of life's difficulties. Oh, the way this man puts his words and lays it out, the master's scalpel of life's difficulties. Who would see life's difficulties as God's scalpel? You know what I'm saying?
We don't see it that way in the moment.
No.
We do not. At that moment, we thinking why and how and all of this, but if we just
continue on, keep going.
Think about God's track record.
Yeah. There's another time he mentions how a business that he and his brother started, and down toward the end, he says, I lost my livelihood, my transportation, and my confidence. He said, goes on to say, in the agony of the moment, I could not see my way through to the brightness of where I would one day arrive. You just imagine that, though. He's talking as a man with a family who is helping to carry his church in that area. And you lose your livelihood and your transportation. And as a subsequent effect of losing both of those, you also lose your confidence. Can you imagine this man that stands up in the authority that he stands, losing his confidence?
But it's not just Bishop feeling this way. Bishop is also ministering to a young man at this moment too, who's feeling the same exact way, a different reason, but they're feeling the same way.
Yeah. Or Bishop was, that had happened years ago in Bishop's life, but he was sitting with someone that it was happening to. And he couldn't even find the words to comfort him because he understood that God was pruning him.
Yeah.
And as we read on, we'll understand that, in my heart, it's like we get the hero stories to help us understand that life really can work out if we will just keep the faith and keep going. And we hear these stories of how Job suffered or how Joseph experienced all this hardship, but then at the end of their stories, we see the blessings of God manifested in their life. And I feel like we are made to read these things and to hear these things and even see on TV these things happening so that we understand that if we are finding ourselves in a situation right now, that it can and will get better if we will keep believing that.
And it's hard to do. It is so hard. Do you have anything on the same page?
Yeah, because the question is asked, why me? I did everything right. Everything I've ever worked for is gone. What a feeling to feel. And as I read that and highlighted, of course, a lot of times I think about being crushed in my music and knowing the hours and time that I put in. Yes, I know that I didn't have the help of an immaculate producer and that I had this cheap equipment and things, but I really put a lot of time and effort into that. And so when you do that and you know that you've invested so much into it and it's basically stomped upon and tread upon as if it was nothing and that you wasted your time, that is a hard thing to accept. And especially when you wholeheartedly believe that God was leading you. There's no way I believe that he would have allowed me to amass the recording equipment and to have people coming out for all those sessions where we would meet up and record and all of that for it to have been for nothing. And at this juncture, at the least, I can look back at it and say, I can do it. You know what I'm saying?
But it wasn't for nothing because you said at the very beginning of this broadcast today that riding in the car, you can hear your own, you can pull it out. So it wasn't for nothing. So if it wasn't for nobody but for your low moments, then it was worth it.
That's true.
Because it keeps you.
And that was one of the reasons, you remember, I've shared with, I know but I've shared so many times about how God used that music to save my life. And that's another big thing because then I just keep every day. I'm just at a place of expectancy now of when God will release me to do volume 7, 8, 9, and 10, because there's great music on and inspirational, encouraging music in volumes 1 through 6. But 7 through 10 has some songs that were written from some low places. And the message in those songs, I just keep thinking this has to get out.
I don't think you remember we did 7 or 8.
7 and 8 in 2020.
No. I was about to say we did one of them when COVID was really, really bad.
Yeah. Well, both of them because June and July of 2020.
Okay. Yeah. But I remember those of us sitting in rehearsal, we were sitting around talking, we was like, these songs, they ministering to us like right now. Yeah. They were old to you, but they were so fresh and new to us where look how the live recording took off and it was just us there because how the words ministered to us. And I don't know what it was, the pastor that said it, that if it don't minister to you first, how can it be? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it ministers to you first. So you are effectively able to minister to your choirs and your groups and let it pierce us so that we can effectively minister. So it's going down. It's trickling on down slowly but surely.
And you know what? I was listening to those live recordings on the way to or from Lufkin, one of those trips. And I was just thinking, it was said that I just need to scrap those songs that we recorded. But I think really to find someone to really help me make it a little better as to use it, because the atmosphere, if we don't capture anything else in the recording, it was the atmosphere of those recordings. And just listening back, I could tell that the choir and that we were all of us that were in the room were blessed by that experience. Yes. And so it's got to come out. It's got to be done. And I've done a lot to it, including adding my background vocals to that to fill the vocals, and I've added piano and and so I just need somebody to put it over the top and do the mixing and mastering. And I know that when others hear that they will feel that impact of the atmosphere that was in that room. I don't have to close my book because we're getting off, but I was saying the other day that there was a point I was writing. I can't even remember where I was coming from, but I was live in my car driving, and I thought it was like I was overcome with the energy in a room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I caught your India live when you was doing that. And
it really had an impact because I could see the band, I could see the choir, I could see everybody on one accord. And when you have it, like literally, I felt like I was in that room, and I'm driving in the car all by myself. So I knew that was nobody but God. And of course, what came to mind was the June and July recording, because that was powerful. And then I was reminded of New Orleans this year.
Yeah.
And just, being in that atmosphere, how many times I found myself on my face in worship to God for having had that kind of experience. And just to think, it was even now.
It's a cry today on the
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. But just to have that prompt of praise, even now, as I'm just overwhelmed at the thought of those feelings, and knowing that it is possible and that God can do it. And even as I'm saying this, I've been thinking about T-Lock while I was reading this, and the crushing I've received, and what God was saying in the book and through Bishop Jakes is that God is not going to use anything you've lost. And some amazing singers have come through True Labors of Christ and been a part of this ministry at one point or another. And, I always keep an open door. And the many times that we try to do reunion choirs and reaching out to so many to invite them back to celebrate another year, and they don't respond. And I was thinking, what do I do when the door that I believe God is going to open really is open, and then they come back because that stage has been set, and I have to look at these people in the face who for years have turned a blind eye, who have ignored, who have shunned? What do you do?
Don't ask me that, because you have that leader's heart. I do not. I'm going to say the heck with it, because you have an opportunity now. Now is your time to come and be a part, because it's something great coming.
And it's not even just to say I'm
sorry, y'all. But it does. And it do. God almighty. Come on, Jay. Keep it going.
It's not even on them just coming back and saying I'm a faithful, committed member. I'm going to be at every rehearsal, every engagement. But it's at least be there and ready for the annual review or annual concert, or when I call for a reunion choir, something like that, But
it brings me back. I always go back to the name. This is not J Bass and
that's right, because I am a true labor.
This is a declaration that you are making unto God, not the choir, not Jay, not me, but unto God. You're saying, I am a true labor, God, unto you. That I only want to do what you want me to do. Because we're not going out and doing just anything. That's what gets me, is that you have choirs that, never mind, let's just move on. Because it does something to me, because everybody has an opportunity to be a true laborer without singing or whatever. There's opportunity for everybody. You know, I sometimes I guess I need to ask Pastor about this. When invitation comes and they say, whatever says this is your opportunity, you know, to reject or whatever. And I'm thinking, how many times do we decline an opportunity that God has before us? Does that mean that we don't ever get it again?
Wow.
How many times have the door been opened, the invitation asked for you to just go and do and be? Because that's all true labors of Christ is we go, do, and be.
What God would have
us to do.
Because we acknowledge that we belong to Christ. That's right.
It's not a hard thing to do. And this is not a thing, you know, a bash at T-Life, but this is an invitation for everybody. You know, it's just not a Houston thing. Jay has opened up the door for other states and cities to be a part. For God to get the glory only. The music that Jay have, you know, when I first met Jay, I'm just gonna say this. I didn't understand what was going on. I had not even known him. I just went to rehearsal with Sister Lily and got put in a choir. And he was looking at me upside my head, and I was like, okay, well, who is he? You know, because I didn't know who he was. But I grew. God had to open my heart to see not the man, but what was in the man. And what was in him was much bigger than anything. And if we can get past this, then we can see what's more. We're missing out on our blessings because we can't look past. We can't. We rather look at a person and like Bishop going through right now.
They take those little things compared to what the person has to offer. Yes.
The opportunity that people have, we see that it takes a little something to be made into something really big. If we can do the same thing with God's word, how would this world be different today? If we can take a scripture or a book, the title in itself is a ministry.
It is.
True Labors of Christ is a ministry by itself. Just to hear that, if we could take that and spread it like we spread the gossip and the rumors.
What kind of world would this be? Yeah.
People would walk around bashed and hurting on the inside and committing suicide and killing each other. We would actually be spreading joy and love.
And there are so many people who need to be affirmed nowadays. And you know, I had an interview today with Lady Yancey and just reflected because of her work with justice and also as a history teacher and knowing the history of our country. And if nobody else should be taking on the mantle of encouraging affirmation and supporting one another, it should be people of color, especially considering the things that our ancestors have gone through to get us to make sure that we have the privileges and the opportunities that we are blessed to have. Just to be able to have the freedom to read this book is a blessing, because our ancestors did not. They were forced not to read in order to keep an oppressive system in place. And now we have been freed to read. And so those little things are so important. And then to know that there are people who would rather use their time to bash someone else, it really doesn't make any sense. And as I was listening to you, I just couldn't help but to think that there's so much more in us than what meets the natural eye. I wouldn't have even thought of that the way that you said it, just to look past the person and see what it is that God is doing in and through them. Oh,
I did. Because, and this is a little bit off subject, but my whole thing of therapy right now is not believing what I've heard and what I've seen in me, not nobody else, in me. You know, because you can hear so much, you can see so much.
You know, yes.
You can read so much, and you thinking, is that me? Am I really? You know, but you have to go deeper. You have to go deeper into what God called you to be and who He called you to be, and not form yourself into what the world wants you to be.
Yeah.
Because we see so much different. What everybody sees different. And we were talking about twins today, how even twins have different DNA and how no person sees the same thing, but it's what you see of yourself. And how you portray yourself could actually help a person. And so instead of walking around frowning all the time, I'm trying to now turn on a smile and not frown, because that may turn off a person. And, you know, Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? It's all about coming into who we are and getting that understanding of ourselves. Because the truth is, when you are spoken to negatively for years and you're constantly bashed and bullied and those negative things being spoken, it can infiltrate your boat. I said that earlier, that water, that was an analogy that was used. You could be in the water, but don't let the water get in your boat. And some of us were sinking and at the place of depression and suicidal thoughts because we allowed that to get in our boats and made us start thinking, okay, well, so many people are saying this about me. Is that really who I am? And am I this bad of a person and all of that? But once you come face to face with who you are, and you have to really take an account for that, it's amazing how God will make you sit there and say, okay, they're saying this, but am I that? Is that who I desire to be? Is that who I want to be? And coming face to face with that is not always easy. And it's part of our crushing. And it's just wholeheartedly my belief. But as we read on in the book, it's worth it when you come out on the other side of it.
It leading all into that, the very next paragraph, Bishop titles it, "Why Not You?"
Because the person felt like he was being punished unfairly when he was actually being pruned by God's gracious hand.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you had something to say about it because you brought it in.
I mean, I do, but I'm not gonna, because I could stay here for forever.
Well, one of the things that he said was the most grievous points of my journey were followed closely behind moments of extraordinary joy. That there is I talk about this picture in my home for several reasons, but I created a poster with nothing but smiles and laughter that I've had over the years. And I have hundreds of pictures, and I put quite a few of them on this poster as a reminder for myself that as many low moments as I've had, as much discouragement, as much depression, as many disappointments, that I have always smiled again. I have always laughed again. And so if I see that at times that I feel down, I am reminded. It's just like this book. I'm able to refer back to this and know that no matter what I'm going through, there will be moments of joy again. And it is because I am who I am that it's my desire to see other people smile. It's my desire to see other people laugh and to show that love and spread it. And so if for no other reason, I'm going to be the reason for laughter. I'm going to be the reason for smiling. And so I know that we will smile and laugh again. And that is the blessing.
That truly is a blessing. I was just thinking about even your talents and gift services. You know, like that is to help another person to get them from being able to get it from mind to paper to action. So, you know,
that's right.
We will. And everything has an expiration date. Everything. No matter how we feel today, I'm looking at this and I highlighted this just because Shattered is coming up. He was saying in 2008.
Oh, wow. The collapse of 2008 shattered his
happiness.
Wow. I saw that and didn't even, wow.
Shattered your happiness. How many times
have our happiness been shattered? Wow.
But we know.
Wow.
That God can put us back together. We will smile again. You'll have hundreds of pictures on the wall or whatever to remind you.
Yeah. And you know, one of the things he says in that same paragraph that I highlighted was he found himself in a season where every fruitful endeavor and vine was agonizingly chopped down to the roots. How do you feel when the things that you did, and you know, even as you brought up talents and gift services, it's like I'm looking at the life coach certificates that we received and thinking that, yes, it's a business, life coaching practice and all of that, but my heart is not in it to make money. That's why we've been doing the free vision board sessions. And so it's in really understanding how it feels to have vision, dreams, and goals and not have that support. And so it's like God was telling me that I need to be that support for someone else. And so to hear you bring that up, it really speaks volumes, because when you have these kind of ideas in your heart, the heart you have for it, even when I consider the fullness of the vision God gave me for JBAS Ministries and True Labors of Christ, just the True Labors of Christ vision alone. When I saw what Tyler Perry did in Atlanta with all of that property and being able to build homes and studios, it let me know that's why one of the reasons why he is one of my top 3, because he gave me the ability to know that what I have seen and have written down in this house as dream and vision, and probably just put away somewhere because I felt like it was chopped down to the root, that it still is possible, that level of vision is still possible. I don't know who the contractors are. I don't know the land. I don't know the property. But what I have now is, just like I say, the language to express something that was going on in my heart that I just didn't have the words to say, like thanks prompt or praise prompt or prayer prompt. I have now a visual confirmation that someone like me could attain what is needed in order to see that vision come to pass. And so,
wait, you know what I just took from that? You know, I don't know how long you had that vision of the studio and all of that, but I know when I met you in 2014, I immediately started working with you. And I remember sitting at one of your old, I don't think you even had that apartment over on M&F Lobby there, but we would sit around and we would talk about, you know, making a blueprint. You know, and what I just got from there was that it's possible. It's still possible. If it can happen for Tyler, where he came from, it could sure happen to JaeTae. It could be a JaeTae studio.
Come on.
Tyler Perry, a JaeTae studio.
Okay.
A whole place like that too.
And the thing is, it's gonna take massive property to see this vision come to pass. That's why one of the things, and at one point I was frustrated, but at this point it's more so I'm looking forward to how God does it and how he works it out, because I have posted, I have shared about having such expansive dreams and goals and vision. And for years, it has been overlooked as if what God has put on my heart is trash. But what I know is the heart that is behind the dreams. It's not that we get there to make some money. I had, I'm thinking that, it's got to make money to be sustained. But my thought is who's going to be blessed and helped by seeing the vision come to pass. Other people can worry about the finances. I'm concerned about the lives that will be directly affected. Just imagine the people who have received a Tyler Perry check because Tyler pursued what was in his heart to do. And so even though the timing may not be now, there are some other things I'm establishing by being back at school and getting all of that taken care of, so that I can be better prepared and equipped when that time comes. But just because it's out of sight does not mean it's out of mind.
Come on.
Oh yeah.
There's a question that Bishop asks, and this guy that he's ministering asks. Well, like I said, the paragraphs is why me, and how oftentimes do we ask God why me? And the simple response that he got that shook Bishop was, why not you? You know, Jae, I don't think you heard this part of the movie yesterday, but I don't want to talk about the movie because a lot of people haven't seen it.
Color Purple.
I should have said that at the beginning. But I was thinking back to Fantasia, or Celie said, how could God? She said that so many times. How could God? And I kept thinking, golly, I've seen The Color Purple so many times, but it hit me a little bit different yesterday. Like, could God allow such things to happen to this young woman? And when I read this tonight, I thought, well, why not her?
But look how her life has impacted so many.
And I guess, I don't know if you ever seen a Fantasia Barrino movie, but it literally, I guess, because I was thinking about that too, like Fantasia went through so much to get where she is. When she was going to American Idol, her mom told her brother to turn that car around and get their butt back home now.
Wow.
And she didn't.
Wow.
What if she had?
Yeah.
She would not have won American Idol.
Wow.
You know, if in
Wow.
fact she couldn't read or write when she
Wow.
won American Idol.
Really?
No.
Wow.
She could not read. She was
Wow.
raped in school. You know, she had a baby by a bad person. I don't want to say, but she had a baby by a bad person.
Wow.
And I know that's why Fantasia was able to play that part the way she was, because she could feel, you know, she didn't have, you know, issues like Celie, but hurt is hurt, honey.
Yeah.
That stuff come up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And you pull, when you're acting, you pull all of that experience into that role.
But I could feel it. I can see it on her face.
Yeah. But because she was able to pull from that experience. There's something that Bishop says on page 68 that really got my attention, that says pruning always happens after the harvest, and that God's schedule was perfect. But then he goes on to say he cuts back every fruit-bearing branch. That really stood out to me. And the part that I underlined and highlighted says, I felt the searing pain of the cutting back of my branches because I did something right. I bore fruit.
Makes it worth it.
Oh my God. And you know,
worth it.
As I read that, I began to reflect back on my life. And
oh God, I said I was not going to today.
I'm telling you, and I was thinking about, you know, some of the things that some of my classmates have said to me when they've seen me post certain things about going through, and the impact I had in high school, even when I was going through my depression and low moments, that somehow there was still fruit being born during that time, and even through the course of my life. And so, of course, there's going to be pruning. Of course, there's going to be more low moments, because there's still, even now, there is still more within us that God wants to bring out. And so, of course, you know, I keep saying this, but I feel like God is preparing us for more crushing.
Oh, God.
As we have talked, you know, we know that just like Bishop, he's going through this issue now. And that's years after he wrote this book. And so the longer we live, the more we're going to be crushed. And that is just the crux of life. That is a part of life. And so the sooner we are able to make peace with that and apply these principles when we are being crushed and bring this knowledge back, then I feel like even more so we'll be able to produce the wine that comes from being crushed.
And not only that, you know, I just have to tell God, I just have to use one of your prompts and tell God, forgive me, because I was just thinking, you said more questions coming. I was like, oh Lord. But we have to see it as it's a privilege.
Yeah.
Because God could have killed us. You know, we could be
oh my God,
outstrung, you know, not that they're not being used, but we were chosen to be used in this capacity, and it just comes with the pruning.
Yeah,
it comes
part
with
of the
the
process. This next part says your behavior does not make you immune to the same wounds every other productive branch receives. You are part of a select group of people who have been chosen by the vine dresser to be pruned because you have done something that other branches have not. You fulfilled your purpose. Ain't that something? Isn't that something? And just again, hearing something like that, it makes it worth it. You know,
don't feel like it. It makes
when you had that feeling about knowing that more crushing is coming, and sometimes you wonder what more could happen after all this stuff I've gone through. But when you know that the end result of it is worth it, that gives you. It doesn't like it said, it doesn't make you immune to going through it. You're still going to go through it, but it gives you the hope and the fortitude to be able to stand up under it and know that what we've been saying for a couple of years now, that this too shall pass. There have been so many moments that we've experienced that have come and they've gone.
And you know, it's crazy because I looked on Facebook today, and the guy that preached at the youth revival, I hadn't seen him on Facebook in years.
Oh, really?
Maybe not years, but a long, long time. And I saw him on Facebook today. Wow. And it made me think about, we just talked about that last week.
You should have sent me his name or however you saw him. Okay.
Yeah, he did a story, so it's on the top of my thing. But we held on to that.
Yeah.
This time next year, you know.
And think of how much has changed since he said that. Yeah.
And I know that's been
at least 3 or 4 years.
That's been a long time ago.
Yeah. But we held on to it. It had to be pre-COVID, huh?
Oh yeah, way before.
At one of the youth revivals, and just to get that, but that really still holds that this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Whatever pruning, and just thinking about Bishop's situation, this next section is entitled "The Pain of Public Pruning." The pain of public pruning. That's why I was saying that some people, when their stuff is exposed, even when our little stuff is exposed, it's not as major. But when it's in public and it's before a mass of people, you're internationally known. Oh my gosh, just the thought, and that God will trim from us what we think is valuable. And then he goes, what I love about this is that he shows us, even in the life of Jesus, the pruning that he had to endure, that he began losing people simply because he was fulfilling his purpose. Isn't that something? All those people that were following him, you don't really look at that. We've heard, that when he entered the city, they were crying Hosanna, and then by the end of the week they were saying crucify. But just look at that, a public pruning. He was pruned before everyone. And if he had to endure it, he said, even after the harvest of many souls that sought and put their faith in him, the master found himself being pruned by the Father. And to know, when I read that, the thing that came to mind for me was, now because he endured that, he went through that level of suffering, he has the name that is above every other name. If they never know our names, everyone would know the name of Jesus. And so just the thought of that to endure such a public shaming, such a public pruning, because he was obedient unto death with the Father, that he now has that name. He now has that seat that no one else can fill. He has that place of promotion because he was willing to suffer. And so, a lot of people, yes, we want the promotion. Yes, we want the notoriety. We want the fame. But the question comes to mind, why? Why? And if you have a heart like what I believe we have, and I know I have, is a heart to see people blessed. To the whole message of the JaeTae show is to encourage others, because I have been encouraged, and I could only encourage someone else because I've been encouraged. And we are, even in this show, pouring into others what is being poured into us. And we're not getting paid for this show. We don't have a production team who's looking at ratings and all that. We're doing this because we don't even know, but we're doing it just because it's in our heart to be a blessing to somebody else, and to, even though that's not our mantra, that we are encouraged to encourage someone else. And the things that we share in this show is to be a blessing to someone else. And whether people are watching or not, or whether they're commenting or liking or sharing or not, we're doing this just in case somebody comes along and sees and hears.
And that's going to be somebody that's going to be pressured. I believe that's going to sit here and watch every episode. Well, because it's going to be so good to them. They're going to be like, okay, I'm not alone. They went through things. Bishop went through things. We didn't talk about this. I don't think we even talked about this off camera. But, Oprah is going through some things right now.
Oh, no.
Just because of an interview that happened with some cast members.
Oh, no.
And, they was trying to boycott the Color Purple movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I didn't tell you that.
Well, I know I've heard one thing about one of the cast members who feels like she's not getting paid like others or something.
Blown that up.
Oh, really?
Big time.
Oh, no.
And I don't know why.
I really didn't know.
Yeah, it just hit me that, even in that, this is a movie, The Color Purple has been out for years. All that she did was put a little twist to it. Make it a musical. Even that has been downplayed and all this, but in spite of, there's a message in that movie.
That's right. A huge message.
A huge message.
And I didn't even get to see all of it.
Message.
Had you not continued to repeat yourself, I wouldn't have even heard it. I know.
Okay. Yeah, there's a huge message in there. And if, once again, these keyboard bullies, because that's what people are, they're keyboard bullies, they say things, you know, if they would have distracted somebody from going, somebody could have missed a blessing from going to see the movie and walked away. Because I know that there was a lady, you didn't see her because you were out. She was at the end crying at the end of the movie. And I was trying to push her on through to get through, and I felt so convicted because she was just really
She's going through it.
Baby, to get down the stairs. But I don't know what God was doing with her, you know, at the end. So we have to be mindful.
That's why I'm gonna have to go back and watch. Yeah.
We have to be mindful. At the end, I don't know where you are, but at the end of the page, it says, pruning is not a punishment. It is a pathway to God's power in your life.
I have it highlighted. Isn't that something? And when you know that, because it brings me back to when we read, we just gonna have to quit at yesterday's fruit, tomorrow's wine. But it brought me back to when Bishop was saying how the knife or the scalpel of a surgeon feels no different. The pain from it is no different than you just literally being stabbed. And it feels the same, but the intention behind it is so different. And so when God, and that's, you know, we hear, and I believe he even referenced this in the book, well, he says it when people say, why not you, or why not me, or why me? And he references this, that we feel that way, but if we know that God is doing something behind the scenes, if we understand whose hands we're in, and that he's doing it because he loves us and because there's more in us, then we can withstand the test. We can withstand the pruning. And that's what makes this book all that powerful. So, Bishop, we have been really going through with an introspective look into this book. We have not read the entire book. We have taken small segments, but because those were the things that just really highlighted so much impact in our lives, and we relate to because of what we've been through. And so we want to personally thank you so much for allowing God to use you to write this and so many other blessed books that have blessed the kingdom.
I thought about when you were just saying that if Bishop had not gone through what he had gone through, you know, JaeTae show we still was gonna do the JaeTae
have
show,
something to say.
You know, I think about the foolishness that we could have been really doing instead of encouraging, because this book is encouraging to keep going in spite of, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're reading it, y'all, we're literally reading as we're presenting it to y'all. Like Jay said, we have not read it. And it literally speaks to us in that moment. Sometimes Jay read it, he be saying, wow. I be saying, Lord, I hope he don't say that. But I want to encourage y'all to get crushing. Bishop, this
is our free promotion.
Y'all get crushing. I'm telling you, it will bless you. We said this at the very first episode, though. We started reading Crushing a few years ago. And what I'm getting from Crushing, I didn't get from Crushing when I first read Crushing. It's because I've been through more things and I've had some more crushing, and life has happened many times, and it is an encouraging book. Encouragement.
And that's why I say I know that we're reading this and being impacted by this because there is so much more to come. And just the thought of the level of dreams and goals, that in itself, because we desire things, we desire positions or to work in certain places, but we don't know what comes with that. I would never have thought that ministers of music in such what seems like such a simple position or fought as hard as we are. And it's a testament that I've heard from several. So it's not just me. I know that this is something that many of us go through. And then as you grow, you understand the spiritual fight that we are literally in. If you are working in the church, you're serving, and you're in God's kingdom, there is a fight that you're going to experience. And so having a book like Crushing, it gives you the extra additional fortitude and strength that you need. And if nothing else, the awareness of that what I'm going through is not being wasted. There's a purpose for it. So God bless you to each of you. Thank you all so much for joining us. Now it's time for our announcements.
It's the JaeTae Show.
Okay, JaeTae, so what do you have on the announcements besides Shattered? I wish I had some. Oh, you know what? I can actually put the flyer up while we are talking about the conference.
What do I have besides Shattered? Other than Shattered? I don't think.
No, well, I thought I was introducing Shattered.
Shattered. Okay.
Oh.
All right, y'all. You know,
I might have said that.
I
Let's talk about Shattered.
I was looking at my calendar today, and the closer we get to Shattered, I feel like little butterflies in my stomach. I didn't feel this way last year for some reason. This year I'm feeling a little bit different, maybe because I know the impact of the conference, and I know how the speakers are preparing, and I know what's to come. So I encourage you. Unfortunately, I have bad news.
Oh no.
I have good and bad news.
Uh-oh.
Good news is I've been told that I need to move registration to the 1st and not the 31st, because people get paid on the 1st. So the 1st will be the absolute last day to cut it off. Bad news is I have to cut it off before 100.
Before 100?
Before 100.
Oh God.
Because of the size of the church and to be comfortable in there, and I'm going to have to take the front row off of the church, I need to make sure that everybody have enough seating and comfortable, and yeah. I don't want anybody to feel squished or not, I said it, so I know other people have feel this way. If I'm in church and I'm sitting next to somebody, I don't want to bump them or stand up and, clap my hands too loud, because people, so I don't want anybody to feel like they can't get what they need from God because it's too crowded. Yeah. That's not the purpose of Shattered. It's healing. It's to come together. The whole purpose of Missing Pieces is that we're all in this together. It's to come together at the beginning of the year, get your tools, get your scriptures, get your cry out, get whatever you need from God to go forward and to mend those broken
Those what now?
Those broken pieces.
Okay.
So yeah, you can still Cash App or Zelle. We still have space right now.
You still have what?
Space.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Am I messing up?
I don't know what you said, but okay. I got space.
The bad thing is, y'all, is that it is winter break for me, and I've still been getting up at 5:30, 6:30 in the morning. So I am a little bit sleepy, and it's 9 o'clock at night. So just bear with my English on top of bad English. But you can Zelle 409-692-5819, or you can Cash App JaeTae 07, CHANTE 07, CHANTAE 07. I do have Jay purchased a ticket last night. Somebody already got it, but somebody else blessed me today. They're not able to come, and I have a spot available. They actually paid for 2, but I already gave it to somebody else. So I do have a spot available if you want to come and you do not have the funds. And I also already said, don't let that $20 stop you, y'all. This money is not that important than to you to come and get the resources and the tools that you need to go on in 2024 healed.
All right. Well, good. Okay, JaeTae, that was really a good mention of Shattered. Okay, I hope to see you all there. All right. Well, this coming Saturday is January 30th, and this weekend, as we prepare to go into the new year, we'll have a meeting with True Laborers of Christ. So if you want to join the ministry, we will meet in this same Zoom room at 357-812-3578, and we will have our end of the year fellowship and meeting via Zoom. I will be posting a flyer for that soon. Hopefully I'll remember to do it immediately after we get done. Although I have some other things to post. But anyway,
it'll get done.
It will get it done. And so then also immediately following that, we will also go into our Zoom for the vision board.
All right.
I'm hoping that the T-Lock Fellowship will be about 30 minutes to an hour. Just depending on how many people show up and the things that we're able to discuss in the fellowship, so that we'll have time to get home for 4:30 to start the vision board party. I call it a party because we are celebrating being able to put down the vision that God has put on our hearts to accomplish, especially going into this new year. So I thought it was befitting to do this before the new year starts. It's not a resolution. There are some things that hopefully as we see the vision and we actually see it in plain sight, that we will resolve that these are some things that we will get done. Or if it's not something that you can accomplish within a year, because some of our goals will require some years.
Yeah.
But even in that we would be able to get it down so that every day we'll be able to see it. Just like I'm able to see those laughs and smiles, I'm able to be reminded of that. And so that's why it's so important to have these kinds of sayings and encouragement on our walls so that we can be reminded.
Y'all better get it in while it's free. Get in it while it's free.
Oh yeah. And that, I was just saying earlier that I'm preparing to go back for a higher level life coaching to add to my practice. And so once I come out of that, it's gonna really be on, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm gonna be promoted on these shows, the J Bass Ministries Life Coaching. So y'all just be ready. All right, JaeTae, anything else before we dismiss?
We'll do another JaeTae show before New Year. So y'all have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on Sunday.
All right, God bless you.
It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae Show. It's the JaeTae